Here's what you should know about your local housing market in this week's Market Update. From my recent experiences and from consensus among some of my top colleagues, there seems to be a general feeling that buyer activity is slowing down. Now, the big question remains is that having any effect on home prices and on bidding wars? So we're going to closely track the stats both this week and in upcoming weeks to see if we really are seeing any change in market values and the way that home sales are playing out, or if the decrease in and limited home inventory is still significant enough to counteract that somewhat quieter buyer demand. So let's get into the stats this week and see what kind of picture that paints for us in terms of what the housing market looks like currently. So these stats currently that we're looking at are for Morristown, Chatham, Madison, Harding, Mars Plains, Mendham, Chester, Bernardsville, Basking Ridge, and Randolph. So this past week, we saw 56 homes come on the market. That's a 10% decrease from last week. We saw the most homes coming on the market in Morristown with 15 homes coming on the market. Out of all these houses in these towns, we saw 48 of them were single-family houses and 8 of them were condos or townhouses. The average list price of homes in these towns was $1,689,000 this past week. That is a 28% increase over the prior week in average list price. And the highest average list price was in Bernardsville, where we saw an average list price of $4,046,000. Total inventory has remained fairly steady. Just a 1% decrease over last week. We have 273 homes actively on the market. We have the most number of homes on the market. Number one in Morristown with 47 homes actively on the market. That's Morristown and Mars Township. Second place, Basking Ridge with 43 homes actively on the market. And in third place, Mendham with 41 homes actively on the market. Just a few of these towns saw an increase in homes actively on the market. The rest of them saw decreases in the number of homes on the market. Homes sold. This past week, we saw 29 homes sell in these towns. That's a 28% decrease over the prior week. We saw the most home sales this past week in Basking Ridge with 8 and in Morristown and Township with 7. The average list price of homes in these towns this past week was $1,019,000, and the average sale price of homes in these towns was $1,048,000. And then we saw the highest average sale price in Chatham this past week with $1,801,000. Sale to list ratio, we saw homes in these towns sell for an average of 3.6% above the list price. We saw just 2 towns where homes sold below the list price. The most significant was in Bernardsville, where homes sold for an average of 8% below the list price. And then we had Mars Plains, where homes sold for an average of 2% below the list price. However, the remaining towns saw homes sell above the list price, anywhere for as little as 0.1% above the list price in Chester, all the way up to 13.5% above the list price in Chatham. Average days on market. This is somewhere we did see a significant increase of the homes sold this past week. They had an average of 33 days on the market. That's a 53% increase over the prior week. And then under contract, we saw 45 homes go under contract this past week in these towns. That's a 5% increase over the prior week. The average list price of the homes that went under contract was $1,193,000. That's an 8% decrease over the prior week. And median days on market for these homes was 35 days, which is actually an 85% increase over the prior week. So from what we're looking at this week, it seems as though home prices and competition has remained fairly steady. However, it does look like we're seeing substantial increases in the days on market. That might be decreased buyer demand. That might just be decreased frenzy with the summer Now that we're in full-fledged summer with people not being as quick to jump because they've got other plans going on. So we're going to keep a close eye on these market stats in the next few weeks, see how the seasonality pans out, but also how these feelings of what we're seeing in the market pan out to the actual statistics. So thanks for checking in with me. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys again next week.